Connection seems to be fine. Yeah, I mean, it's breaking it up again. Multiple... I don't know what the hell this problem is. I use Streamlabs and it just updated, so I suppose something got screwed up with that. Because I've never had this much trouble with it before. It's going to be really hard to try and do this damn video if I can't keep the fucking connection open. Alright, let's try again, shall we? Since it seems to have restarted me. It's really hard to keep one's emotional energy up when you have to keep redoing shit. Sorry for anybody that watches this. It's just getting really irritating. Alright, so get back over here. Where the hell do I start or pick back up? Right, so Hiromu Takahashi match with Dragon Leads, NJPW, San Francisco G1 Climax special that they did earlier this month. And they went for a move called the Phoenix Plex. And I'm sorry if I'm repeating things, but I don't know if this is going to split the video up again or not because I'm having so many technical issues. I don't know what the problem is. I said my internet connection seems to be fine. I don't know what the hell is causing these disconnects. I've got on YouTube over here, it's showing it as, that's kind of weird, live stream in progress. It shows it is at a minute 55, but over here on Streamlabs I got it at over almost 5 minutes. So I'm going to assume that it's restarted me. And again, I'm sorry for all this weirdness at the beginning of this video, if it is indeed the beginning of the video, because everything's getting screwed up on technical issues. So, back to the fucking topic. Hiromu Takahashi, Dragon Lee. Dragon Lee works in CMLL mostly. He occasionally does matches in New Japan, special attraction stuff. They had the match at the San Francisco special. They went for the Phoenix Plex, this move. You get him up, powerbomb position, tuck him in, and then normally fall back, and it's a pinning move. A very, very tight pin. Looks brutal, very safe, completely safe. People have been doing it for a long time, well, a few years anyway, a while. No injuries. Apparently, Kevin Steen used to do a version of it where he'd do that and then toss him into the turnbuckles. And then he stopped doing it because he hurt someone. Imagine that. And people are trying to compare the two. I don't know whether they intentionally did a release version of it or they just slipped. Either way, the move botched, and Hiromu went on his head and hurt his neck. He finished the match but collapsed backstage, had to be rushed to the hospital in San Francisco, but he's been released. He's back in Japan for recovery. Hopefully he's on the road to recovery and he'll be... The reason I'm doing this video, go ahead and check, yes, we seem to still be going, is because Jim Cornette put up a video, once again, bitching about guys working dangerous, doing dangerous spots. And he did a video about Will Ospreay had a match with Marty Scurll and went for a move and Ospreay caught his head on the apron and could have been seriously injured. It was a minor injury, a stinger more than anything. Takahashi has been injured. Hopefully not out too long. And it just really pissed me off. Because I don't disagree with everything Cornette says, but sometimes he can be so fucking hypocritical and so biased. Because what he's doing, in logic, it's called a confirmation bias. You know, it's the same thing, like, a good example, and, you know, if this pisses you off, whatever, is prayer. People who believe in the power of prayer, who will point to times when prayers came true, I used with the bunny ear quotes there, as proof that it works, and then completely ignore the countless times that nothing happened. Or, cherry picking is similar. It's not the same thing, though. Cherry picking is when you ignore data that you don't want. It really is kind of the same thing, but just being done in different ways. But, it's exactly what it sounds like. Confirmation bias. You only pay attention to what confirms your bias. And that's what Jim Cornette does. He doesn't watch New Japan. Or if he does, he doesn't watch enough of it to know what the fuck he's talking about. He doesn't know who these guys are. He doesn't know the move sets that they use, the stuff they do on a regular basis. He doesn't know a fucking thing about the product. But he will still have people send him these fucking clips. Often it's just that one goddamn move. And then he will comment on it, acting like he knows what the fuck he's talking about. But he doesn't. He just uses it as yet another way to confirm his bias against anything that isn't old. Isn't old school. Because Dragon Lee uses the Phoenix Plex as one of his signature moves. He's done it countless times to numerous guys, never hurt anyone. Other people have been using this move for quite a while, a few years at least. And other than Kevin Steen tossing people into turnbuckles and hurting them, nobody's been injured. This was a botch, plain and simple. Just like Will Ospreay and Marty Scurll botched that move. They messed up. Because they had done that move together plenty of times. Ospreay's done it with other guys plenty of times. Never got injured. So it is confirmation bias. It's hypocrisy. I looked it up. How many injuries did I see? There was 9 or 10 guys and 2 or 3 women out on injury right now in WWE. So tell me how they're actually any better when they have more people out on injury than New Japan has ever had out that I've seen. I've been watching since 2015. I can count the number of serious injuries on one hand. Minor injuries they hardly have any minor injuries. They don't have all the muscle tears and all that, the wear and tear injuries that WWE people suffer from on a regular basis because New Japan doesn't work stupid fucking schedule like WWE does. But yes, they have had a handful of serious injuries, 2 or 3, I should say, which is no different to some of the serious injuries that have happened in WWE or anywhere else in pro wrestling, in the history of pro wrestling, because pro wrestling is inherently dangerous. And you're going to try and say, oh, this move is more dangerous than this move. No, it's not. It's all about the comfort level. It's all about how comfortable the guys are doing those moves. How well they've practiced them. Cornette loves to do the, nobody's ever been injured by an atomic drop. Really? Are you sure? You're dropping somebody ass first on your knee. You do it wrong, you could break their tailbone, and I bet it's happened. I bet people have been injured, even minor injuries, something off of the atomic drop, in any other move in pro wrestling. I bet there is not a single move done in pro wrestling, including the simplest shit like running around the ring, that has not at some point or another resulted in an injury of some kind. There are always going to be injuries in pro wrestling. So acting like somebody botching a Phoenix Plex is somehow worse than a botch off a simple move like a power bomb, I say simple move, or a pile driver, which is considered one of the most dangerous moves in the business, and yet has been used for probably longer than any other move of that type. It's bullshit. But you want to talk about risk factor, fine, yes, things are more risky than they used to be, but they were more risky in Jim Cornette's time than they were the previous decade or two before that. That's the other part of the hypocrisy of Jim Cornette and his marks that pisses me off. You know, the WWE fans are just, they're more pathetic than anything, because they just need excuses to hate anything that isn't WWE. But with Cornette, you'd think you would know better. He acts like pro wrestling just existed in some sort of fucking bubble until the 80s were over, and then all of a sudden everything went to shit. He completely ignores that pro wrestling has always had escalation. Because you can go all the way back to the beginning, when it was actual wrestling, mat wrestling competitions. Then somebody decided, well, we get better results, we make more money, and people enjoy it more when there's more drama involved. So they started juicing things. They started adding in the drama, and they started having it be a work instead of a shoot, to use their lingo. And people enjoyed it more. Again, you know, this is something you run into, especially like MMA fanboys, MMA marks, that think that pro wrestling is tricking people, and that nobody knows that that its fans don't know what pro wrestling is. It's like, you stupid motherfuckers, it's a show. And people enjoy it that way, for a reason. Fuck off. It's not our fault you have tiny dicks and need to pick fights with people to make yourself feel better. Fuck off. So, anyway, the hypocrisy part. You know, the escalation of pro wrestling. So, you go from mat wrestling, and then they start hitting each other, having strikes. And that escalates. So again, Jim Cornette bitching about the Young Bucks doing super kicks all over the place. They don't do as many as they used to anyway. But still, acting like somehow the super kick should not be, or let me rephrase, like it should be exempt from strikes and be treated special compared to other strikes, just because one guy successfully used it as a finisher for a while. Or, well, you know what I mean when I say for a while. Like, it should be put up on some pedestal compared to every other strike in pro wrestling. It's bullshit. It's hypocritical bullshit. You know, complaining about the chop. Everybody does chops. Well, people love it. People like to go woo. They like to, they like to do the Flair woo after a chop. It's people just like to do it. You see it all the time, so fucking what? How many chops did Flair do during his goddamn matches? That's his primary move that he would do. Same thing with people bitching about Kenny Omega and his V-trigger knee. There's been a hit, people say it's a tradition or a part of the style of Japan, but you really think about it, it's always been part of pro wrestling that people will use different kinds of strikes. How believable is punching somebody? Repeatedly punching somebody. You'd have two pro wrestlers go out and punch each other, with, the air quotes there, for ages, and not really hurt each other. That's not fucking believable. Most of the time somebody punches someone, you're gonna break your own fucking hand and break their fucking jaw with one punch. That's real life. That's reality. That's why pro wrestling isn't supposed to be realistic. Not the way that some people think it should be, or they act like it's supposed to be. It's not. It's like a kung fu movie or any other action movie. It has its own internal logic that it obeys. So yeah, going back to the super kick thing, or the sweet chin music, to give it its popularized name. Yeah, treating that like it should somehow be put up on a pedestal and held as sacred just because Shawn Michaels used it as a finisher is bullshit. And Cornette always wants to make these comments about how, for the longest time, the worst thing you could possibly do was a pile driver on the outside of the ring. Yeah, and for the longest time, the worst thing you could ever do was a pile driver in the ring. And before the pile driver, probably slams and suplexes. And before those, punching a guy was the worst thing you could possibly do to someone in the ring. And then, there's always been escalation. There has always been escalation in pro wrestling. So acting like what they were doing in the 80s is somehow any different to what they're doing now at a fundamental level is just hypocritical bullshit. It's Jim Cornette being a crotchety old man complaining that things aren't like they used to be when he was doing it and when he was enjoying it. Too bad, so sad, so what? Cry me a fucking river, get down off your cross, use the wood to build a bridge, and get over it. You know, I don't disagree with everything Cornette says, but like I said, he can be so fucking hypocritical. You know, especially when it comes to guys like the Young Bucks. I mean, is he completely oblivious to the fact that it was his own Midnight Express and the Rock and Roll Express that started that style? Is he really that fucking clueless, that fucking biased and hypocritical to not recognize that? They were doing shit that people before him hadn't done. They were working a much faster, frantic pace than people had used to. They were speeding things up. They were taking more chances. He acts like they never took chances, like they never took risks. Everything in pro wrestling is a fucking risk. It's just what you're comfortable doing. The wrestlers. What the wrestlers are comfortable doing. And sometimes things go wrong. So, yeah. All in all, that's what pisses me off the most about it. It's these little assholes, the WWE marks. They don't give a fuck about the wrestlers. They just want to use it as an excuse to point at it, at indie wrestling and New Japan wrestling and anything that isn't WWE and go, see. And then whatever bullshit they want to try and use to justify doing that. Try and keep saying that WWE's better because they're marks and they'll never, you know, they can't enjoy anything except for that bullshit. And Jim Cornette and his marks, you know, the 80s fans and anybody who's just a mark for Jim Cornette, and of course he's a mark for himself, who cannot see just how stupidly hypocritical and biased they are. You know, it pisses me off to see them using injuries in pro wrestling, which have always happened and will always happen, but trying to use that to confirm their bias, to act like they're making some sort of point. It pisses me off. Because you know what? Yeah, Ospreay could have been killed. But it was a move that he had done countless times with many people, including the man he did it with that time. And they botched it. They messed up. Hiromu Takahashi, has been injured. He could have been killed. It was a nasty botch. But it was a move that he has done with Dragon Lee many times without injury. It's a move that Dragon Lee has done with other people many times without injury. And other people have done many times with other people without injury. It was a botch. It was a nasty botch. And Takahashi is going to be out for a while, and that sucks. But to point at that and try to use it to act like somehow wrestling today is just so bad and dangerous compared to any other period in pro wrestling history is just hypocritical bullshit. It's no different than me pointing at Owen Hart almost killing Steve Austin and then pointing at Memphis and Jerry Lawler, you know, Jim Cornette's beloved Memphis wrestling and his hero, Jerry Lawler, and going, oh, look, he shouldn't have been using the pile driver for all those years. He could have killed people. No, he never. Did he ever actually hurt anyone? Lots of people have been injured by the pile driver. I'm sure Lawler's injured people with it. It's, you know, just odds. Straight up odds. But acting like somehow that's worse than anything else is bullshit. Or the power bomb. How many people have been injured with a fucking power bomb over the years? I know of at least one guy who was crippled, paralyzed for life. His life was dropping off again. It dropped out there for a second, but it seems to still be going. I don't know if it actually is or not, but I'm pretty much finished up. You know, it just pisses me off. What can I say? You know, the hypocrisy of it, the confirmation bias, and really more than anything else, it's them pretending like they give a shit about these wrestlers when all they're really doing is using it to justify their bullshit. That more than anything pisses me off, because I do care. I don't want to see them get injured, because I actually like them. I watch their matches. I've been watching Hiromu Takahashi since he came back, last year? Let me look that up. So Hiromu Takahashi on Wikipedia, right quick, look up his bio. So, no, 2016. He came back November 2016. That's why it felt like it was more like last year. So, since November 2016, I've been watching this man's matches, and I've enjoyed every single one of them. Let's see, Will Ospreay. And I always misspell it. So, New Japan, also 2016, March of 2016. So, I've been watching Will Ospreay in New Japan since March of 2016, and I've enjoyed most of his matches. Sometimes I find his acrobatic style a little bit odd, a little bit flamboyant to my taste, but he's had some damn good matches. I've enjoyed a lot of his work. I don't want to see him get hurt. And it really offends me, pisses me off to see assholes, especially somebody like Jim Cornette, who really, really should know better, use accidents, botches, with these guys, and anybody else in New Japan, or anywhere else in pro wrestling for that matter. It doesn't matter where it is, because there are fans of everybody. Anybody who works on a regular basis has their fans. And to point to them when they're not really doing anything that they haven't done before, anything that isn't actually dangerous when it's done correctly. Because yes, I agree, there are some things that people will do that are just ridiculous. Like that Kevin Steen I mentioned doing that kind of sort of that move, but then he would do it and he would launch him head first into the turnbuckle. I'm sorry, but yeah, that's asking for trouble. You're going to hurt somebody doing that shit. But the Phoenix Plex, when it's done correctly, is a completely safe move. It looks terrible, terrifying, but that's true of any really good pro wrestling move. It looks terrifying. It actually isn't. Because they train. They know what they're doing. They're comfortable doing it. And to use accidents to justify bullshit, your own biased bullshit view of what wrestling is, because it isn't what it used to be when you were a fan, or because it isn't your promotion, and ignoring all the injuries that your promotion compared to everywhere else. It is insensitive, callous, selfish, and just, it really, to me, at a fundamental level, is just plain wrong. So, yeah, that I've said my piece. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one. I'm planning on getting back into doing gameplay videos and stuff. I haven't been feeling well lately. Summer allergies and other crap putting up with, and busy with other things. I'm working on games and other things that I do. So, yeah, I get back into gameplay and all that stuff when I can. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye bye.